All right. All right, ladies. Thank you all for being here today, right before break. This presentation is basically a presentation to try and help our staff to come up with ways that they can try and de-escalate issues or situations with students. As we know, culture is a really big thing with our students right now, and it's kind of showing a struggle. And so, it's up to us to try and fix it. So, I have a presentation on conflict de-escalation. And so the goal is for us to work together as a team so that we can, strategize and think of things that would be beneficial. And if you see anything in the presentation that you're like, hey, we need to wait out from that, or if you want to be out have like a sidebar, you want to add more to it, that's absolutely what we're doing. So it's just a working session of trying to make this a little bit stronger and then to present it when we get back from break so that teachers can have a fresh start and a new mind frame of how they're going to go into situations when they're dealing with a tough situation. Okay? So, dealing with conflicts with adolescents, the disruptions and the repair. All right, so we'll just start off with the first slide. Common themes and assumptions of conflict are, that behavior is a number one ways of students and adults of communicating, and it serves as a function for the student, and that conflict is inevitable in any relationship. No relationship is ever going to be perfect. And so you can use conflict as an opportunity to try and repair with the student, that even though, a situation might be tough, but, if you go back and try and fix it, then, it'll definitely build that relationship. And I think as we've been talking over the past few meetings with staff, that I think relationship building has been the number one biggest theme. I'm writing it down, relationship building. All right. And so the adult's reaction or behavior determines the outcome when there's a conflict between students and teachers. So basically if an adult is angry, then the student's going to be angry, or if the adult remains calm, then hopefully they can try and de-escalate the situation a little bit. All right, next. So here is the conflict cycle. You start out with number one, there's a stressful incident. And then, so the student feels a certain way about whatever it is that's happened, and then the student has a behavior based upon their feelings. Well, then that turns into, well, then now the adult has a feeling of more than likely over how the student's behavior is, because we really don't know at that moment what the student's feelings are. And so then based upon that student's behavior from that adult's feelings, then it turns into a reaction from the adult, whether it be good or bad. So then that flows into
a comment on that.
Yes.
Because it is a cycle, it can really start anywhere. Like an adult can come in and have ill feelings, for one reason or another, or just not be at 100%, and then that adult's feelings can go to reactions, like things that they wouldn't necessarily do, and create stress in their classroom, or a student's feeling. I mean, a lot of our students have really difficult lives. Very stressful lives, and so they can come in with feelings like that. And I mean, if we can catch those there, and our whole break thing, like let's take an emotional break so that they don't turn into behaviors and it doesn't start. But really, the cycle can start anywhere.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that you made that. You said that the student, if we can catch the student's feelings, then that could try and be proactive about stopping that behavior. Stop the behavior.
And also adults checking themselves at the door. Like check yourself before you.
Exactly. And we're going to get to that in a second. All right. So how conflicts can negatively reinforce students' irrational beliefs, which, basically perfectly leads into, what you were saying. So, that frustration activates their irrational beliefs. Like teachers are unfair. I know it's kind of hard to see. And then they have negative thoughts, which trigger their feelings, which drive the behavior. And then it goes into, well, the response can be, is there yelling, sarcasm, refusing to speak. And then the adult picks up the feeling and mirrors the behaviors, which escalates into a power struggle. Our hugest thing right now, it is, even I have to catch myself sometimes, because I'm like, hey, I'm the adult, you're the child, but really in their head, it's not a relevance to them, it's, It doesn't connect with them at this moment. And then the student may lose the battle and be punished, but the beliefs are reinforced and there's no motivation to change. Which is, with our system right now, they get the misbehaviors or they get the major marks of, oh, that's a failure to comply, but at the end of the day, they're still having a solution.
Right. There's no way to not trying to change it or talk it through.
I see.
Yeah. I've just seen this happen so many times, unfortunately. Also, I mean, a student losing the battle also means that the teacher won the battle, and that's just a horrible thing because the teacher did not win.
Exactly.
And it's because their student didn't learn.
Right.
They weren't in the class, and that's not winning as a teacher.
Right.
Like, that's not your goal. So that in itself is just like to me.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, the power struggle, like defining that, like anything more than two exchanges
exactly.
is an argument or a power struggle. True. And I feel like adults need to realize that, like, if but I didn't, but no. Well, he said, well, now that's a struggle,
right.
And it's an argument. So just, I understand. I say that all day long. I understand.
Yes.
And we can talk about that later.
Exactly. And I think that's so key, is just helping our staff to realize that we've got to stop, because they don't want to stop. They just want to keep going.
It's also validate.
Yeah, just to say,
that's all. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes that's all that the student is wanting, is just to feel validated and heard and understood. And so whenever we get in those power struggles, we're taking that away from them, which results in more behaviors that we don't want.
Exactly. So then we need to check in with yourself. So, and back to what you're saying, a lot of times it's how we feel, it's our reaction. So if you can manage your own counter-aggressive feeling, so like you said, to say, I understand what it is you're saying. And, and to realize that whatever it is that they're doing, you can't take it personally because it's not about you, and then take a moment to check in with your feelings, and that's so important, if we can start training our minds to say, hey, I listen to you, I understand.
I hear you,
I
understand.
Yeah, but it's just remaining calm. That's the big part, because once the students hear the frustration in your voice, then that's just going to escalate them even more.
And also, it's a good way to de-escalate is one of the key things that I like to use is join to follow, or follow to lead. And basically, it is validating their feelings in the beginning, and the situation is saying, yes, you're right. Or not even you're right, but yes, I understand. I hear you.
Right.
I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I do.
And what has happened? Like,
Yeah.
what have you tried to fix this? And then you lead them to a better solution to the problem. Join to follow to lead.
Yeah. Join to follow to lead. I know. And one of the things I always say is, so how would you like me to help you?
Right.
How can I help you in this
What would you
situation?
like help with?
And even if their solution isn't, you don't feel will be, a good outcome, still allowing them to experience their own solution and experience whether or not it's failure or success. I mean, it was their idea, so that you need to go with it and try it. And then say, okay, this is what we've tried. What else can we try?
Right.
That didn't work.
Right, exactly. So, and some of the things that we need to try and steer away from, so that the situation won't escalate even more, is physical aggression. Which I mean, I can. Okay.
I want to push back on the wording.
Okay.
I feel like if a teacher in the room was getting this presentation, and it's directed toward everybody, because everybody can use this. Even when you know what to do, like as a behavioralist or what we do, we still get caught up in moments sometimes. You know what I mean? So it's really for everybody, but like people who are counter-aggressive might not like to hear the word aggressive. Do you know what I mean? Because they might not that just seems kind of like a
Right.
violent word.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Is there any?
Yeah.
Is it called anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Or no? Counter-aggressive.
Right.
Like I think that the teachers who kind of can be counter-aggressive wouldn't appreciate hearing the word
Right,
aggressive.
you say that
Like
you're
just
aggressive.
thinking about.
Right. I hear that. Yeah, but
That's
but
what it
also,
is, though.
It
Yeah,
is. I know when I
it
kind of
is.
and it's a wake up call.
Yeah.
You know that. You know, even though you might not like it, but really it is a form of aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that. I
Mhm.
feel like
No,
people might feel like.
No,
maybe not
absolutely,
wanna
I
hear
get it.
or
Right.
something.
Right. But in order for us to get past that point, in
Right.
order for us to try and change our frame of mind, that we do have to call a spade, and just say, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us, do show these, not so much yelling, but like the sarcasm is there, the excessive consequences is definitely there, the planned ignoring is absolutely there, and all of us
All
do
of those
that.
are there.
Right, exactly. We all absolutely do it, and as it is proven that it's not really helping.
No.
It's not helping at all. So, and then this just goes a little bit deeper into why there are the underlying reasons, why people can become counter-aggressive. So like, is a reaction to being caught up in the conflict cycle, like there's an issue going on within yourself. Is it a violation of your personal, values and beliefs, because even I find myself saying, like, I'll see a student ask a teacher one thing, and then the teacher will tell them no, and then they'll try and come to me and ask me the same thing, and I'm like, no, you don't do that, that's rude, but just explain to them why I think that it's rude, instead of just hammering down, that's a disrespect to an adult, because they won't get it, or even just being in a bad mood.
A lot of times the kids don't even, because they don't know, and so you have to give them that social feedback, because we need to teach social skills to all of these kids,
Yes. Yes.
It's really important, just social feedback.
All right, thanks for more reasons. A reaction to not meeting expectations professionally. We have really high stressful jobs, and we feel like the microscope is always on us, and we have to be performing 100% of the time. And sometimes that's just not. We just don't realize it within ourselves that, this is the reason why I'm acting the way I do. Feelings of rejection, helplessness, prejudging a problem, a youth in crisis. I think we all do that. You see a constant, troublemaker, and we just automatically assume that, well, they just do this just because, that's just them being them. And it's a human reaction. Or unfinished psychological business. So then that takes us to, we have the power to de-escalate and teach. So attempt to understand from the point of view. Listen, that, people always say that's why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to listen more, and speak a little bit less. And really try and get, their side of the story. Then try and problem solve solutions where both parties can have some of their needs met, so like you said, listen, I hear what it is that you're saying, how can we come up to a solution? What are some good choices that we can do, that we can make in order, for it to be a win-win situation? And then drain out the emotion by acknowledging the feelings with a calm voice. And calmness is just, as long as I've been teaching, that's just always been my number one, safe thing to go to, and it's always just really worked at just speaking that low, monotone voice, and, just let them feel the way they feel, but if you don't have that reaction, then, they'll calm. If you're calm, then they will calm down themselves.
Sometimes it's okay to even say that maybe you shouldn't be the one to deal with the behavior or the problem in that moment. Maybe your emotions, and to be able to recognize, hey, I'm so mad right now that I can't effectively problem solve with this child. Someone else needs to intervene. And to recognize that, and that it's okay to do that. That it's even better to do that than to try to do it yourself when you're in the heat of the moment.
Absolutely.
And there are some situations, just like thinking back in the past, like being a classroom teacher, there are certain situations, but like with certain kids, that I've already built a very solid relationship with, and I let them see like a little bit of a different person, because kids also need to know that there are natural consequences, and like when you do something to like hurt a person, another person, like, and that upsets me, like sometimes you have to know that. And I'm going to do it in a very loving way, because, you know, I have a relationship with the kid, and they know that I love them as a student and a person, but that, you know, we can't just put on like, okay, now what you just did was completely, you know, like kids need to know that sometimes
you love them and that you care.
Absolutely. And there's a fine line between that, and I feel like you need to really have a relationship with your kid, with your students, before you can do that. If you don't have a good solid relationship, then
which is, you know, because, and I think stepping back and noticing is that it all does boil down to relationship building, and if that relationship isn't there, then you're right. When you try and hammer down the law or make or force somebody to follow your expectations, you know, if they don't feel like it's a safe place, then like you said, they're going to, you know, react in a non-positive way. So you're right. Right, and just kind of thinking forward, I think that might be the next step that we try and need to move our staff to, is building those relationships. You know, and I think when I present, and you all are going to help me present, you know, when we come back from break, I think I want to start out by saying, you know, can you sit down and think of what relationships you have built with any of your students? Or is it strictly a teacher-student, you know, and is it even a relationship? You know, like what's the connection that you have with your kids? All right, and then forget the past, stay in the present, offer choices, not advice. You know, and as adults, we have to realize that, you know, when you give kids choices, even though the choices are something that we want them to do, but kids want to feel like they have that power, you know? So you can absolutely get a child to do something that you want them to do. You just have to present it to them in a way to make them feel like, ooh, I can choose that. And then model self-control. Don't intervene if you're feeling strongly. So back to what you said, step away. And it's okay to step away.
And sometimes it's good for the student to see that it's okay to step away.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately we want them to do that too, right? If they're feeling like aggressive, don't we want them to just turn the other cheek sometimes?
Yeah. Calm down. You're right. So then it's good to end with a plan of action. So you ask the student, what do you want me to do? What have you tried? How well has it worked? What are you willing to do to get what it is that you want, you know? And so, like I said, try to remove the source of distress, you know, and accept the situation, you know, it is what it is, but here's how we can move forward. So let's work together to try and move forward. And attempt to change the outcome by doing something different.
Also, I think to kind of piggyback on that, to follow up as well, like following up with the plan that the student has or has suggested, to make sure that they tried their plan, and whether or not it worked or not, you know. And if it didn't work, what can you do differently? But the follow up, I think, is a really big piece to de-escalating.
And follow up in that whole. I mean, because we're talking about cycles. I mean, everything that's a cycle, you need to close the loop in anytime you get the opportunity to do that.
Right, absolutely. So I thought it was interesting that just some research that, you know, that the presentation it found, you know, about when you're teaching in an urban school setting, and just how there are some cultural differences. So in just ways that, the next few slides are just to try and help you, like some strategies that you can try and implement, you know, in your classroom to try and help with this. But when it says urban students expect more direct verbal commands, you know, and so when you ignore, you know, that sounds more like questions or may not understand or what is expected, you know, that causes, you know, a lot of the problems, you know, and you have to be firm. Here's what we're going to do. Here's first, here's second, here's third. And it's, you know, and it's not anything of, you know, I think teachers kind of think that, oh, I'm being mean, you know, and it's not that you're being mean, you know, but they just need that firmness, and you need to be direct. And I don't love you any less, you know, but here it is what we need to do. And so then the students recognize the nonverbal language from the teacher more than verbal. And so be aware of your body language and facial expressions, particularly when they're not talking to you, which is so interesting. I forgot who I told, but working with Trinity yesterday, and somebody made me laugh, and Trinity was like, oh my gosh, Miss Bryant, you actually smile. Like, and I just never realized that. I never smile. I mean, but I do it intentionally, you know, because I feel like if you get too chummy with the kids too fast, then they're not going to listen to you and they're not going to respect you, you know. So I thought that was, I just didn't, you know, that helped me to realize that they are paying attention, and they're paying attention so much more than what we're paying attention to. And then there's different communication styles. So, and these are kind of generalizations. And so like African American students come from highly verbal environments. They may display, you know, social interaction style, referred as call and response. You know, so it kind of reminds me like when people are going to church and the preacher is preaching, like, yeah, you know, but, you know, in our classes we wanted to be completely silent, you know, it's like, stop talking. But if we kind of train, you know, kind of reframe the way we're thinking that, you know, maybe they're just paying attention, you know.
That's how I felt during the art yesterday. The music was on, and we were at a level 0. I was like, oh man, I want to sing and dance. Like all of these little, you know.
And they're kids too, you know. And so like we don't really have an Asian student population, but they might smile and laugh as a reaction to confusion or misunderstanding. I think I might be Asian because that's what I do. Like, okay, I get it. No, not so quite.
And not making eye contact sometimes. A lot of times.
Absolutely. And the elves might be quiet and often fail to respond to teacher questions. And, you know, I've definitely seen that in our elves too. All right. And so this is what can help so that you can be an effective urban teacher. So those really, I know that word urban, I know I think I need to find a different word between urban. But develop those relationships. I think that's been what we've been saying, you know, throughout the whole thing. If you don't have that relationship, then when it comes to that correction, it's just really not going to be there. And it's mutual respect, you know, so caring, you know, like we said, it needs to be a safe place. If they don't feel like their classroom is safe, then they're going to rebel. And then establishing that business-like learning environment, expectations are clearly stated. There's no excuses, and behaviors are dealt with immediately while maintaining mutual respect. You know, and kids love that predictability. They want to know what is going to happen. They want to know that if I walk out of class, this is what's going to happen, you know. Or even just going over those expectations as soon as you walk into the classroom. You know, if you don't raise your hand, it's a T. You know, and it's those clear set expectations. And when they're not set, the waters are muddy, and you know, and then they get frustrated because, well, you didn't give so-and-so a T, but you gave me a T, and they want to know why. So, and then recognize the communication differences. You know, this is the thing. I see our students having all these side conversations, you know, and supposed to be listening to us. But, I mean, I guess, you know, culturally, that's kind of what they're used to. And participate in the main discussion at the same time during instructional activities. And so, listen to students without judging. You know, that's a hard thing to do because we haven't made up in our mind, no, this is what you did, and I know this is what you did. You know, a lot of times, you know, even I have to work on not shutting a student down, you know, and actually listening. Teach with assertiveness and clear expectations. It's just going to make a world of a difference in your classroom.
Rule-based instructions, and I was talking to staff this morning about like classroom procedures and stuff. And like for the first 6 months, I'm procedure.
Yes.
Every single time I do something, I have independent work posted, what it looks like, group work, what it looks like, lecture, what it looks like. This is what you should have. This is what the noise level should be. This is how your body should look. You should be in your seat facing forward, and I would say that every single day.
Exactly.
You know, like so. Have a seat, you should be facing forward, feet on the ground, academic learning position. Please get started on your do now. When you're finished, you may put your pencil down so that I know you're finished. We are silent, I mean, just, I
Yeah.
have the same,
Right.
and you
right.
have the same thing that you say every single day, that it just gets so routine. And then they just do it. They just do it. But it's, you have to spend a lot of time building that culture.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
that classroom culture and school culture. You know,
Absolutely.
and they should be aligned. Just throwing that out there on the table.
This is true. This is true. Those are the next few presentations. And then find appropriate balance of power. Maintain authority status, and provide students with decision-making power. And then recognize that it's students' power in a struggle and diffuse it. Provide a student with an escape route to save your face. So like we said, it's okay to walk away.
Right.
And then we can come back and talk. And then the other thing is, like, even in that situation, even if it's to a point, where the student needs to be sent out, and I think I said the other day, finding a chance or an opportunity to repair.
And close that circle.
That's just going to be huge, very, very huge. You have to repair with the student. And so just some things that don't go well for novice teachers are failure to establish an assertive stance, failure to establish clearly stated and enforced expectations, positive learning communities, and being afraid of students, them responding by ignoring misconduct. That's not solving any situation. So, and look, and they actually do, they want guidance from adults.
Yes, they do. They really do.
Yeah.
They want structure and to know and what they're gonna do.
Especially the ones who say they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Right.
Exactly. So bottom line, always be bigger, stronger, wiser, and kinder. Because we are the adults in the situation. We can approach it calm and provide them choices and build that relationship. And then we'll go back and have that prepared. Then I think that's going to solve a
The
lot
other
of
thing
things.
too that I think is really important with conflict is to know that time is your ally. Time is on your side. You don't have to resolve the conflict right away. That it's okay to wait. It's okay to put it off for a minute and wait until you and the student are both ready. Because if you don't use time as your ally and you're pushing for a quick solution, it's going to backfire on you, and the problem is going to come back up later. But time is really, you have all the time when you're dealing with a conflict. That it should never be rushed. For a solution.
So is the presentation, do y'all think it's good enough to present to the rest of the staff? And just, and like I said, my overall goal is just for it to be a conscious wake-up call, and then just a couple quick solutions as to, what it is that you can try and implement in your classroom when the kids come back. So maybe, and tell me what you all think, maybe at the end, as part of like an exit ticket, like what are 2 quick solutions that you can try and implement, when you see the kids. All right. Thank you, ladies.